I've been investing £100 a month in Monzo's Adventurous Fund for nearly a year. However, last month I decided to close my Monzo investment accounts and transfer the money across to my InvestEngine portfolio. This video is going to be all about the final portfolio performance with Monzo and why I closed the accounts. If you're new here, on this channel we like to discuss all things personal finance with particular focus on how to grow your money. And if you'd like to follow my own personal finance journey with regular portfolio updates of my main InvestEngine portfolio, as well as a bunch of other personal finance related videos like this one, then I'd greatly appreciate a subscribe. But for this video, let's get into it, and let's start by taking a look at the final portfolio performance. I opened my Monzo investment account in November 2023, and I closed it mid-September 2024. So the performance spans a period of around 10 months. Inside the account, I chose Monzo's Adventurous Fund, and I chose this because I wanted to take more risk to try and get more return. And we can see here that I got a relatively good return of 5.75% in percentage terms and £74.76 in pound terms. This was great performance for me, as the main aim I had with this portfolio was to beat the return I could get in a savings account, as this was the main alternative for my money. The best interest rate I could get for my money during this period was around 5% for an easy access account, or a little bit higher for a noticed or fixed term account. But I wouldn't have actually got the 5% if I had put my money there and invested the same way. And that's for two main reasons. Firstly, because the interest rate 5% for easy access or for fixed term or for notice is based on an annual equivalent rate. I didn't hold that money there for a year. I only held it there for 10 months, so I wouldn't have got the annual equivalent rate of 5% like I just mentioned. And the second reason I wouldn't have got the 5% is because, as we can see on this graph, I didn't invest a lump sum at the beginning. I would have only got that 5% rate if I put a lump sum in there for a year. I didn't do this. I used a dollar cost averaging approach, putting money in there every month, as we can see with the little bumps every month there through this graph. So if we consider both of these factors, the overall return I got through investing the money in this Monzo Adventurous Fund was much higher than what I could have got by putting that money in a savings account. The return of 5.75% over 10 months using a dollar cost averaging approach is pretty good in my opinion. And we can actually dig into the specific returns I got through each of my Monzo investment accounts, as I held two accounts with Monzo. I had both a general investment account and an ISA account. The general investment account I put money in between November to April, and then when the government changed ISA rules to allow multiple ISAs of the same kind in the same tax year, I opened a Monzo Stock and Shares ISA and put money in there between May to September. And we can see here that the ISA account had a very small positive return of just 82p compared to a £73.94 return in the general investment account. And it's not too surprising that the general investment account had much better performance, as I had money there for longer and the bulk of my money was in there. So more money was getting a return. And actually, when I had invested and put money into the general investment account, this is when the market had a rally. Between November and April, there was a really good rally, particularly in the US and the S&P 500. So the general investment account benefited from this, whereas the money in the ISA did not benefit from this. Nonetheless, I've not really taken note of the return of one account versus the other, as they're invested in the same thing in the Adventurous Fund. So all I'm doing by comparing the returns is I'm comparing time periods and the amount invested. So it's only really worth looking at the total return, and I'm happy with the overall return between the accounts. But to be honest, I couldn't have predicted a positive return in the short time frame, 10 months, I had the money invested. My investing strategy is focused on the long term, 5 years plus. I tend not to focus on the short term, as the markets tend to be volatile in the short term. They go up and down a lot, and I could have easily had this money invested across a 10-month period where the markets didn't do well and I lost money. I was just fortunate that the markets had a good period in those 10 months and I had a positive gain. You may now be confused, as I've mentioned that my investing strategy is focused on the long term, and if you're a regular viewer on this channel, you'll know that I always mention that my investing strategy across all my accounts is focused on a long time frame of 5 years plus, which goes completely against what I've done here in withdrawing the money within a 10-month period. So let's move on to part 2 of this video and go through why I've closed these Monzo accounts within a short time frame and gone against everything I've said on this channel. Firstly, I want to make clear that I didn't withdraw the money from the Monzo investments to use for a purchase. Instead, I simply transferred the money across to another investment platform and invested the money in world index funds, which are focused on the long term. But that doesn't answer the question of why I withdrew the funds from Monzo in the first place, and it may have confused you even more in that I've gone through the hassle of just transferring the funds across to another investment platform. To answer the question of why I withdrew the funds, we need to go back to why I opened a Monzo account in the first place. This was because I wanted to begin an investing journey with Monzo to make a good return for myself, but also hopefully provide a useful and relatable journey to others who are thinking about beginning their investment journey with Monzo or have just started that investment journey. On paper, Monzo seemed like a great platform for beginner investors, and I found that their features are good, but I've personally grown increasingly frustrated by the lack of investment choice. Monzo provide only 3 different portfolio options in the careful, balanced and adventurous funds. Each of these are made up of different funds from BlackRock, so they're essentially a fund of funds. However, there's no opportunity to amend the weights of the different funds within each of the portfolios to suit my own investing goals and risk appetite. Other beginner investor platforms such as Moneybox offer this functionality. With Moneybox, you can control the percentages of the funds making up their equivalent beginner ready-made portfolios in their cautious, balanced and adventurous portfolios. But with Monzo's funds, this is not the case, and instead BlackRock control the percentages of the funds making up each of these portfolios. The only opportunity you have to amend investments with Monzo is to change the portfolio you're invested in to one of the other 2, so one of the 3 in total. This lack of choice differs a huge amount to the main investing platform I use in InvestEngine, which has over 700 funds to choose from, and functionality to make it easy to create a portfolio of different funds. I myself have built a portfolio similar to Monzo's Adventurous Fund, aiming at capturing the whole world in terms of being exposed to companies all over the world, within different industries, and of different sizes. Importantly for me, when I built this portfolio, I had control to choose the percentages that each fund makes up within the portfolio to align to my risk appetite and investing goals. For example, I've chosen a world fund to make up 70% of my portfolio, which is exposed to developed countries such as the US and the UK, and I've chosen an emerging markets fund, which is exposed to countries such as China and India, to make up 10% of my portfolio. I can change the percentages these funds make up of my portfolio at any point if my risk appetite or investing goals change. And I personally really value this ability to choose the funds and choose the percentages they make up of my portfolio. This is not to say that Monzo should increase the number of funds they offer, as they've intentionally kept a small fund choice to suit beginner investors and those who don't want the hassle of choosing a portfolio. But for me personally, I want choice and I want the ability to amend the weights of the different funds within my portfolio to suit my own investing goals and risk appetite. And unfortunately, Monzo doesn't allow me to do that. So this was a key reason for me withdrawing funds from Monzo and moving them to a platform which gives me the choice and the functionality I want. The other key factor in leading to me withdrawing funds from Monzo was their fees. The total fees with Monzo's investment service for me was 0.59%, made up of a 0.45% platform fee and 0.14% fund fee going to BlackRock. If I had a Monzo paid plan, the platform fee would be 0.10% lower. But I don't have a paid plan. I use the free Monzo plan, so my platform fee was 0.45% and my total fee across the platform fee and the fund fee was 0.59%. If we compare this to the total fee I pay with InvestEngine, which is my main platform for my stock and shares ISA, then there's a huge difference. With InvestEngine, there's no platform management fee on the DIY side, and my portfolio has an average of 0.17% in fund fees. This means the total fee I pay with my InvestEngine portfolio is 0.17%. And it also means the total fee difference between InvestEngine and Monzo's platforms for me personally is 0.42%. This may not sound a huge difference, but over the long term, it can make a significant impact on the return I get from my portfolio. For example, if we compare the return of a £100 per month portfolio over 25 years with an assumed 8% growth rate per year, between a platform costing 0.17% to a platform with fees of 0.59%, we can see there's a whopping difference of £5,452 in return between the platforms, despite the growth rate being the same. Obviously, this example is hypothetical based on assumptions, but it illustrates the impact of the fee difference in the long term, and for me personally, I can no longer justify Monzo's high fees when I can get a much lower fee elsewhere, invested in similar funds, with a platform which has features more aligned to my investing style. So overall, Monzo's fees and the lack of investment choice and control were the key reasons why I closed my Monzo investment accounts and moved the funds across to another platform in InvestEngine. This decision was based completely on my own personal investing needs and style. I still think that Monzo is a great platform for beginner investors. In terms of the process of withdrawing the funds and moving them across, I had two separate processes, one for each of my Monzo investment accounts. For the ISA, I triggered the process on InvestEngine and they handled the communication with Monzo, and within a few weeks I had the funds withdrawn and invested in my InvestEngine portfolio, all taken care of without me doing too much except a form at the beginning on InvestEngine's platform. With the general investment account, it was completely different. I needed to withdraw the funds myself. It took about a week for the funds to hit my bank account, and then I deposited the funds with InvestEngine and invested the funds in my portfolio. Both processes were relatively smooth, albeit a little long for my liking. Nonetheless, the money got there safe and sound, and that marks the end of my Monzo investing journey. If you'd like to check out my InvestEngine investing journey with my most recent portfolio update, I have a video around here. But for this video, thanks for watching.